You know, quite frankly, I never do reviews of cup games on this channel. I've never really bothered with them that much because, especially after this game, it feels absolutely pointless. But I was just thinking about everything that I said after Stoke on Saturday, about the fact I did the little fan reaction thing for BT Sport, and honestly, it got over, like, what was it, on the Facebook page on BT Sport, got over 200,000 views, which I did not expect at all. Wasn't even aware they're going to put it on Facebook, so thanks for that. Obviously, you get some idiots in the comments who haven't got a clue about the situation at the club, but it's banter. You just take it. It's how football fans thing works. But I mean, I'm just looking at the fact we've just been knocked out of the FA Cup. Now, it's not much of a surprise to Burnley. We've now played Burnley 3 times in the space of 2.5 weeks. We've lost twice to them and drew at home against them. That's not good enough. And it really put into perspective for me how, I mean, I'm just looking at the Roker Report article about the player ratings, and I want to have a look at this myself because I've never seen them before. But it just goes to show how much we've regressed massively as a club since, we can't even beat Burnley. With all due respect, Burnley. I have huge, again, I think I've said in previous videos, I've got huge admiration for Burnley and what they stand for. They're an example of how to manage a club properly. But Burnley, Sunderland, you shouldn't be losing to them. You should be beating them. Come on. We should have, I feel like if we were going to get held to a replay and then go to the replay and get knocked out, well, what was the point in getting a replay then? Now, I know you could do that with every cup tie. There's always a risk of getting it's always a 50-50 chance, depending on who you play. But Burnley Sunderland, it usually should be quite even. Sunderland should edge it, though. And yet, we can't beat them. And that's really annoying. And they're probably going to get their first away win in the league at the Stadium of Light as well. So joy there. But it just really, really puts into perspective now how bad Sunderland's situation is. And I can't even begin to fathom how depressing it is, because I look at the Stadium of Light and look at how many supporters go to that stadium almost every week to be continuously let down by years of underachievement and underperforming. This is ridiculous how bad this has got. And I was thinking, and I keep saying to myself, that Sunderland underachieve as a club. And I am going to continue to stand by that. Nobody is going to change my opinion on that. Sunderland as a club over the last 5 years have significantly underperformed. They've underdelivered to the fan base, to the expectations, that you're again now in your 10th successive season in the top flight. And there's a good few reasons why I feel we underperform. Those are a couple of reasons. The stadium size. That is bigger than a lot of other... Now, stadiums don't guarantee you success. I understand that completely. But when you look at other stadiums, Turf Moor, Burnley are doing well. Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth. Bet365 Stadium, Stoke. And they're a good team. We still shouldn't be losing to them at home, but they are a good team. Who else have you got there? Until recently, it was probably bigger than Anfield, bigger than Chelsea's. And again, they'll probably get a new stadium. Tottenham's the same. They'll get a new stadium. But that's the point. That's the point. We're a bigger stadium than the majority of those teams. And even you look at Norwich, when we capitulated at home against them, QPR, exactly the same, Villa, Palace even. I know they're underperforming, like, admittedly. But, we've got a bigger stadium than that. We've got a bigger stadium than what Palace have got. And also, we've been in the Premier League probably twice as long in recent years than what Palace have been in. Probably longer than that. And yet they've progressed more than us. And I know they're only 1 point above us, but I find it very difficult to see Big Sam taking them down. I just cannot see it happening at all. So it means we've got to hope Hull and Swansea stay crap and stay in that bottom 3, and hope by some miracle that we overturn a third team. Is that going to happen, really? Based on the last couple of games? Hell no, it isn't. I'm past the point of being ratting and raving and being angry. But I'm still pretty annoyed. How the hell has this come to happen? How the hell have we allowed ourselves to get to the point where we are insignificant underdogs going to Turf Moor? Not Old Trafford, not Stamford Bridge, not the Emirates, Turf Moor. Turf Moor, come on. Not too much to expect to beat a team like Burnley. Anyway, other reasons why I've said I feel we underperform. You look at, again, the amount of money that we've probably spent in the last 5 years alone is probably more money spent than, say, what Bournemouth and Burnley have done in the last couple of seasons. Come on, man. After you spent, I mean, if you look at the big profile signings that we've made for Sunderland, the big money figure signings that we've made, you look at Adam Johnson. Yeah, left the club in odd circumstances, and he's rightly in prison. But still, we paid reported £10 million for him. Reported £12 million for Fletcher. Good for his first season, rubbish, shite afterwards. You then pay, say, £6.5 million for Josie Altidore, rubbish, couldn't hit a barn door to save his life. Bless him, tried his socks off, but nowhere near good enough. £10 million on Rodwell. Right now, I believe there's a player in Rodwell, but regardless of my personal feelings, we've paid £10 million for him, and we still haven't seen anything from that. Who else? Lens, £8 million at least. Let's say £13 million, because apparently that's what it is, rising to add-ons. So already, you're totaling up 10 plus 12, that's 24, 6.5, that's more or less 30. Then Robert, so that's pretty much over £50 million there. Then you look at Barini, spent, say, £10 million on him by the time we've done paying, and this is all after we've paid the instalments, £10 million on Barini, so that takes it to 60. Kazri takes it to, say, 70. 70, and he's not even getting used at the minute. And then you look at who have we signed, like Ndong, the same, about 13 million by the time we've paid the installments. We haven't paid much at the minute, but by the time we pay the installments, it'll be around about 13 million. So that's over £80 million spent. Now I remember the True Geordie making a video when Newcastle lost to Bournemouth, and he mentioned about Newcastle's expectations about spending £80 million and going down in the same season. That's pretty shocking, like. But at the same time, Sunderland have spent that money around about that over the last 5 seasons. Now, surely, with the stadium size and fan base you've got, the length of successive times you've been in the Premier League, 10 successive years, longer than a majority of other clubs in our position, and the fact you spend about £80 million more, that's not even including signing on fees and agent fees and whatnot. That's not including those figures. And not to mention you've got other players that we've signed as well. That's probably close to £100 million we've spent in the last 5 seasons. Surely you would expect to get better, not worse. Surely. Come on, man. Absolute farce. Absolute joke. What is that? Why has it happened? And again, it's through constant mismanagement that we've been down there. Now, I've got leniency for Ellis Short, more so than what I did have a few months ago, because for him this can't be easy to watch. But at the same time, would it surely not have been his job when he got into the club to properly educate himself on football to the point where he doesn't make the daft decisions and appointments that he's made? He might very well have done. I don't know. That's part of the problem, though. We don't know. I mean, you look at the appointments he's made. I mean, that's another thing. Despite some of the daft appointments we've made, some of the managers we've had have been pretty high caliber in the last few seasons. So another example why we should be doing better. Here's an example. Steve Bruce. Now, people can say whatever they want about Steve Bruce. I personally thought he did all right. Martin O'Neill. Started well, significantly under-delivered after that. There's rumours about the fact his wife might have been ill. That's not my place to know. But if it is true, he shouldn't have been managing a Premier League club. And with that, and if we didn't sack him when we did, we would have got relegated that season. Paolo Di Canio. Straight away, that was an appointment that was destined to fail because he was never a long-term appointment. So why on earth he was appointed in the first place, I do not know. I really don't know. Mind you, the media did make too much of his political views because it didn't matter when he was at Swindon. But as soon as he moves to a Premier League club, that's it. It's a big deal. Get lost. Anyway, Paolo Di Canio. Never rated him. Gus Poyet was someone I really wanted to work out. He was an up-and-coming manager in the game. And I really hoped it worked out for him, but he lost it towards the end. Dick Advocat. Highly thought of. Majority of supporters thought highly of Dick Advocat across Europe. I didn't particularly rate him personally. I thought, again, like Di Canio, like O'Neill, started well, and then the start of last season hugely underperformed. Didn't show any of his coaching abilities for me, but nevertheless, he was highly thought of. Then you look at Sam Allardyce, not a mug, got a good reputation of keeping teams up and stabilising them. And then you've got David Moyes. Regardless of the fact of what's happening at the minute, he's had a good reputation. Yeah, ruined a bit by Man United. But even so, he's still a highly thought of manager. So, come on, we shouldn't be struggling this much. And that's another thing. I want people to stop comparing Moyes to, say, Sam Allardyce. Because the amount of times people are doing this is ridiculous. 2 different managers, 2 different people. Get over it. And this is not David Moyes' fault. I don't care what. No Sunderland fan is going to ever convince me that is so anti-Moyes. They are not going to convince me that Moyes is the problem, because he isn't, or at least he isn't the main contributor to everything. There's things he could do better. I do think he could be less stubborn with Robbie Kazri and try and play him. That's driving me mad. But at the same time, it's like people saying go for the youngsters, like bring them on, make do with what you've got. If he doesn't rate the youngsters, how the hell is he going to play them then? How is he going to play players that he doesn't rate ahead of players that he rates more? That would make no sense to do whatsoever. Come on, some Sunderland fans, get yourselves a grip. Honestly, I'm not having to go at the supporters, by the way, because above everybody else, they deserve so much more. I feel sorry for that lot who travelled and paid their money to go down to Burnley. I went there a few weeks ago when we got smashed 4-1. That's a criminal offence in itself. And the fact that we've now gone to Burnley and been pathetic again and got knocked out when there was a winnable tie at home in the 4th round, a good chance to get to the last 16, no, apparently we don't want to take it. I knew Burnley were going to win, and I'm nowhere near as annoyed from tonight as I was on Saturday. But even so, man. Even so. I mean, how is this acceptable? How has this standard come to be acceptable? And even the media, and that's another thing I want to mention, actually. To any of the media and anyone in general who dared have a go at Sunderland fans for leaving at 3-0 on Saturday, I want to mention a few points to you. And I mentioned this in the BT Sport video, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit. When I said the team underperformed, and I mentioned the capitulations we've had. So you look at Stoke, QPR, Norwich, Aston Villa, Hull City, Crystal Palace, and have I mentioned someone else? I know there's another team in there. Leicester even, last season, Burnley. So that's 8 teams, Southampton as well. 9 teams I've already counted on my fingers that we've capitulated. And they're winnable fixtures as well. So you look at QPR, Norwich, Aston Villa. They're in the Championship. Hull, around about where we are. Leicester, around about where we are. Swansea, to an extent, they're below us. Somehow there's a team below us at this point. And then you look at Southampton and Burnley. Burnley, who were widely tipped to go down at the start of the season. I said Burnley would still, but everyone else was backing them to get relegated. And truth be told, their squad isn't any better than ours. But the difference is they've got fight and organisation and hunger and desire. Everything our current starting 11 lacks. I don't care how poor it is. I'd expect it to actually have the fight to try and win these games. That's the minimum I'd expect. And then Southampton. I'll bet you Southampton 8-0, that was their biggest Premier League win. I'm prepared to bet you, bottom dollar, that the 4-1 defeat by Burnley was Burnley's biggest ever Premier League win. 3 guesses who they were against. Sunderland. Of course it was Sunderland. I mean, come on, man. How exactly is this acceptable? How? I don't give a monkeys about the rest of the situation at the club. I'd expect it to compete in these games. And Stoke as well. Again, they're a good team, but they're nothing spectacular, man. And they were in a poor run of form going into that Sunderland game. They were knocked out by a Championship side. At home, with more or less the same team that beat us at the Stadium of Light. Give me a break, Sunderland. And anyone who dares have a go and has the audacity to have a right dig at the Sunderland fans for leaving after watching countless seasons of capitulation in winnable fixtures, get lost. All you do is watch Sunderland for 10 minutes and then make a judgment from there. How dare you have a go at our fans like that? And I bet you West Ham fans exactly the same. I bet you they've done it constantly. Yeah, that's not a media story, is it? It always is when it comes to Sunderland. You go up here and pay your money to watch that. And I don't pay as much money as a lot of other supporters do. But the amount of money some of those fans pay to go and watch that and to capitulate against winnable teams at home. Come on, man. Why are we seeing these same things crop up every single season? Why? I want some answers from the club about this. Why is this constantly happening? And more importantly, why are we not eradicating this? How many times have I come on here and said, I want to see this eradicated. I want to see this gone. I don't want to see us go down without a fight anymore. It continues to crop up. This is probably the most you've seen me rant on this channel, but honestly, this club really deserves it because I'm sick to death of being let down. I'm fed up of it. If Burnley and Bournemouth are out, and I have huge respect again, and I really do admire both clubs, but if they're both outperforming us, that's embarrassingly shocking. I'm stunned. Well, I'm not stunned because it's Sunderland, but it shouldn't be happening. Constant years of mismanagement have led to this. Poor transfer dealings. And you look at some of the decisions we've made selling players. Kabul for £3.5 million. When at the end of last season, based on the end of last season, to me, we should have got at least twice that much for him. I don't care about his age. He proved he was worth it. He was outstanding towards the end of last season. And one last thing I will mention before I go. We mentioned about the fact the Sunderland ladies have just been, demoted to part-time. I was at Sunderland Uni a couple of years ago and covered Sunderland ladies. And I'll tell you what, they were very good. I know that the level isn't the same as men's. It's not, unfortunately. But it's the cold, hard fact it isn't. But even then, why on earth should they get cut their wages and get cut and have to go and find other jobs to pay for earn a living, basically, in addition to playing for Sunderland ladies, a Women's Super League 1 club, the highest level of women's football? Why should they get their wages cut while those spineless idiots get paid constantly, despite many abject performances out on that pitch, and get paid millions and millions of pounds every season for that? I don't care if that's how the game works. Doesn't make it right. Tell me how that's fair. Right, I'll see if, I don't know. I'm going away for a couple of weeks, or for a week after this. This will be the last video I'm going to put up for a while. But honestly, guys, I mean, I'm just fed up. I'm just absolutely fed up. And it's more to do with the fact that, when I say this club underachieves, and when I said on the BT Sport thing that it shouldn't be too much to expect to beat teams like Stoke, the last thing I mean, when I elaborate on that, what I meant was, I would expect within 10 successive years, and by the time you enter your 10th year in the Premier League, I'd expect Sunderland to have been managed properly, to the point where they are of the same quality standard as what Stoke and Southampton are. If those two teams can do it, if Burnley and Bournemouth can outperform us, if Leicester can win the league, if Palace can get seemingly better players than us, therefore it's not too much for me to expect for Sunderland to be of that standard. End of. I'll see you later, guys. Like I said, sorry for the fact I'm really angry and ranting in this video, but how I've managed to get through without so much as swearing so much, I do not know. Anyway, see you later, guys, and let's just to focus on relegation. Championship's where it's all about.